Lieutenant Kira Novak wiped the sweat from her brow, leaving a streak of grime across her forehead. She squinted at the alien delegation through the shimmering heat waves rising from the Martian desert. The red planet's terraforming was still a work in progress, and the environment was about as hospitable as a politician's promises. "Welcome to Mars, ambassadors," she said, forcing a smile. "I hope your journey was tolerable." The lead alien, a towering mass of tentacles and eyes that went by the name of Xylorp, made a sound like a garbage disposal choking on a fork. Kira assumed it was laughter, but with these guys you never knew. Could be a declaration of war. Tolerable, Xylorp gurgled. "My dear Lieutenant, it was positively harrowing. How do you humans endure such adversity?" Kira offered. "Insanity," Xylorp finished, its tentacles waving in what Kira hoped was emphasis and not an attempt to strangle her. Kira sighed. She'd been warned about this. The Galactic Confederation had nearly had a collective aneurysm when they discovered that humans had not only survived on Earth classified as a Class 13 death world, but had actually thrived and expanded to other planets. "Well," Xylorp Kira said, gesturing towards the domed city in the distance, "why don't we head to more comfortable surroundings? I'm sure we can discuss our insanity over some refreshments." As they trudged towards the city, Kira couldn't help but chuckle at the aliens' awkward gait. They moved as if gravity itself was their mortal enemy, which, she supposed, it kind of was for them. "Is something amusing?" Lieutenant asked Zix-9, a smaller alien that looked like a cross between a jellyfish and a disco ball. "Oh, just thinking about the fascinating conversation we're about to have," Kira replied smoothly. "I'm sure you have lots of questions about us Deathworlders." Zix-9's crystalline body shimmered in what Kira assumed was agreement. "Indeed. For instance, how do you manage to function under such oppressive gravitational conditions? It's positively barbaric." Kira bit back a laugh. "If they thought Mars was bad, wait until they heard about Earth. Oh, we just put one foot in front of the other. It's not so bad once you get used to it." "Used to it," Xylorp interjected, its voice a mix of horror and awe. "My dear, one doesn't simply get used to conditions that could reduce one's internal organs to paste." By now, they had reached the airlock of the domed city. As the doors hissed open, Kira gestured for the aliens to enter. "After you, ambassadors. Welcome to New Armstrong City." The aliens shuffled in, their movements a comical mixture of caution and curiosity. As the inner doors opened, revealing the bustling Martian metropolis, a collective gasp rippled through the delegation. "By the cosmic egg," Zix-9 exclaimed, its crystalline body vibrating with excitement. "You've created a thriving ecosystem in this barren wasteland." Kira smiled proudly. "Well, we do like a challenge. Now, how about those refreshments? I know a great place that serves both traditional Earth cuisine and some interesting Martian specialties." As they made their way through the city, Kira couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humans had come a long way from huddling in caves, terrified of the lightning. Now, they were terraforming planets and making first contact with alien species. Not bad for a bunch of Deathworlders. Little did Kira know, this was just the beginning of a series of eye-opening, and in some cases, eye-watering experiences for their alien guests. The Galactic Confederation was about to get a crash course in human resilience, and it was going to be one hell of a ride. "You want us to do what?" Xylorp's tentacles writhed in a manner that Kira had come to recognize as extreme agitation. They were standing at the base of Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, and Kira had just suggested they climb it. "It's a time-honored human tradition," Kira explained, trying to keep a straight face. "We see a mountain, we climb it. Simple as that." Zix-9's crystalline body pulsed with an alarming shade of puce. But why? What possible benefit could there be in expending such energy to reach an arbitrary geographical point? Kira shrugged, adjusting her climbing gear. "Because it's there." The aliens exchanged looks of pure bafflement. Kira could almost hear their alien brains short-circuiting as they tried to process this quintessentially human logic. "Look," Kira said, taking pity on them, "you wanted to understand humans, right? Well, this is about as human as it gets. We challenge ourselves, push our limits, and occasionally do monumentally stupid things just to see if we can." "Fascinating," murmured Gloop, a gelatinous alien who had been uncharacteristically quiet until now. "Your species deliberately seeks out hardship for fun, more or less." Kira grinned. "Now, who's up for a little climb?" What followed was perhaps the most awkward and hilarious mountaineering expedition in the history of Mars. Cylops' tentacles proved surprisingly adept at gripping the rocky surface, but its top-heavy body made balance a constant issue. Zix-9 literally rolled its way up, its crystalline form catching the Martian sunlight in dazzling displays. And Gloop. Well, Gloop sort of oozed its way to the top, leaving a slimy trail that made Kira grateful for her sturdy climbing boots. Halfway up, during a brief rest stop, Cylops turned all 7 of its eyes towards Kira. "Lieutenant," it wheezed, "I must confess, I'm beginning to understand why your species is considered so formidable." Kira raised an eyebrow. "Oh? And here I thought we were just insane Deathworlders." "Oh, you most certainly are," Xylorp agreed readily. "But there's a method to your madness, isn't there? This constant struggle against your environment, it's made you strong." Kira mused, taking a swig from her water bottle. "I guess you could look at it that way. We've always had to fight to survive, so we just kept fighting even when survival wasn't on the line anymore." Zix-9 chimed in, its voice tinkling like breaking glass. "But surely, now that you have the technology to make your lives easier, you would choose comfort over." It gestured vaguely at the harsh Martian landscape. Kira laughed. "You'd think so, wouldn't you? But nah, we humans have a saying, no pain, no gain. We believe that overcoming challenges makes us better, stronger." The Gloop burbled thoughtfully. "So, your harsh world didn't just allow you to survive, it shaped you into what you are." Bingo, Kira nodded. "Now, break time's over. We've got a mountain to conquer." As they resumed their climb, Kira couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. These aliens were beginning to understand what made humans tick, and it was all thanks to a little Martian mountaineering. Who said diplomacy had to be boring? Back in New Armstrong City, Kira watched with amusement as the alien delegation gingerly lowered themselves into chairs at the local pub, the rusty airlock. Their bodies, unaccustomed to the exertion of the climb, moved with the grace of a drunken giraffe on roller skates. "So," Kira said, sliding into her own seat with enviable ease, "what did you think of your first Martian mountain climb?" Xylorp's tentacles drooped dramatically. "I think," it said slowly, "that I now understand why your species has a reputation for being slightly unhinged." Zix-9 chimed in, its crystalline form still vibrating from the exertion. "I must concur. The sheer audacity of scaling such a massive geological formation for no apparent reason other than because it's there. It's simultaneously awe-inspiring and utterly baffling." The Gloop, who had poured itself into a specially designed containment field that functioned as a chair, burbled agreement. "I fear I may never fully comprehend the human psyche, but I must admit, there's a certain appeal to your madness." Kira grinned, signaling the bartender. "Well, allow me to introduce you to another human tradition that might help you understand us a bit better. After a hard day's work, we like to unwind with a little something we call alcohol." The aliens watched curiously as the bartender, a grizzled old earthborn named Mac, set down a tray of various drinks. "Now," Kira explained, "I've taken the liberty of ordering a variety of Earth's finest libations. We've got beer, whiskey, vodka, and for our more adventurous friends, a Martian specialty called red dust rocket fuel." Xylorp eyed the drinks suspiciously. "And the purpose of these concoctions is relaxation, celebration, sometimes poor decision-making," Kira shrugged. "It's a social lubricant, helps us unwind, share stories, bond." Zix-9's crystalline body shimmered with interest. "Fascinating. And these beverages are safe for consumption?" Jack, who had been listening in, let out a bark of laughter. "Safe? Depends on how much you drink, I reckon. But don't worry, we've adjusted the alcohol content for your alien physiologies. Probably." The aliens exchanged nervous glances, but curiosity won out. Gloop was the first to try, extending a pseudopod to dip into the red dust rocket fuel. Its entire body immediately turned a vibrant shade of crimson. "Great galaxies," it exclaimed. "It's like a supernova in my cytoplasm." Encouraged by Gloop's reaction, the others tried their drinks. Xylorp's tentacles curled in pleasure as it sipped the whiskey, while Zix-9 clinked merrily after downing a shot of vodka. As the evening wore on, tongues and other alien appendages loosened, and the conversation flowed as freely as the drinks. Kira found herself regaling the aliens with tales of human exploration and daring-do, each story met with a mixture of horror and admiration. "So let me get this straight," Xylorp slurred. 6 of its 7 eyes slightly unfocused. Your people willingly strap themselves to explosive devices to leave your planet's atmosphere. Kira nodded, taking another swig of her beer. Yep, we call them rockets. Big boom, lots of fire, and suddenly you're in space. Zix-9 chimed in, its crystalline form now a kaleidoscope of swirling colors. But the risks, the potential for catastrophic failure. How do you manage the sheer terror of such an endeavor? Kira leaned back in her chair, a wistful smile on her face. That's just it. The risk, the danger, the unknown. That's what drives us. We see a challenge, and instead of running away, we run towards it. It's in our blood. Gloop, now a shimmering puddle of intoxicated protoplasm, burbled thoughtfully. I think I'm beginning to understand. Your species doesn't just survive adversity. You actively seek it out. It's how you grow, how you innovate. Bingo, Kira said, raising her glass in a toast. To adversity and the stubborn fools who face it head-on. The aliens joined in the toast, their various appendages clinking against Kira's glass in a moment of interspecies camaraderie. As the night wore on, Kira found herself reflecting on the strange turn her life had taken. Here she was, a lieutenant in the Terran Space Force, drinking with a bunch of aliens in a bar on Mars, trying to explain why humans did the crazy things they did. It was absurd, it was wonderful, and it was quintessentially human. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a series of adventures that would challenge not only the aliens' perceptions of humanity, but also humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The next morning dawned bright and early, or at least as bright and early as it gets on Mars. Kira strode into the conference room, where the alien delegation was already assembled, looking worse for wear after their night of terrestrial festivities. Good morning, Ambassadors, Kira chirped, perhaps a bit too loudly judging by the collective wince that rippled through the room. I hope you're ready for today's adventure. We're going to experience one of humanity's greatest achievements, space travel. Xylorp's tentacles drooped visibly. More. Adventures, it groaned. Haven't we proven our mettle already? Kira grinned. Oh, come on, where's that intergalactic spirit of discovery? Besides, you came all this way to learn about humans. What better way than to experience our greatest passion? Zix-9 chimed in, its usual crystalline sparkle somewhat dimmed. I thought your greatest passion was climbing extremely large geological formations for no discernible reason. Nah, that's just a hobby, Kira laughed. Space. Space is our destiny. And so, despite their hangovers and reservations, the alien delegation found themselves suited up in human-designed spacesuits, modified to accommodate their unique physiologies. They stood in the airlock of a small shuttle, anxiety radiating off them in waves. Now remember, Kira instructed, her voice crackling through the suit's comm system, the G-forces during takeoff can be intense. But don't worry, your suits are designed to compensate. Just try to relax and enjoy the ride. Relax, she says, Gloop muttered, its gelatinous form quivering inside its specialized containment suit. As if hurtling through the void of space in a metal contraption is conducive to relaxation. The engines roared to life, and Kira could hear the aliens' various exclamations of surprise and fear over the comm. As the shuttle lifted off, pushing them back into their seats with the force of acceleration, Xylorp let out a sound that Kira could only describe as a squelchy scream. Isn't this fantastic, Kira shouted over the noise, her voice filled with genuine excitement. We're breaking free of gravity's hold, pushing beyond the boundaries of our world. That's one way to look at it, Zix-9 replied, its voice tinkling with barely contained panic. As they broke through the thin Martian atmosphere and into the star-studded blackness of space, a hush fell over the alien delegation. Kira smiled to herself, recognizing the awe that came with one's first view of the cosmos from this perspective. Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends of all species, Kira announced, welcome to space. Pretty amazing, huh? For a moment, there was silence. Then, unexpectedly, it was Gloop who spoke up. It's beautiful, the gelatinous alien said softly. I've traveled the stars my whole life, but I've never seen them quite like this. Is this how you see the universe, Lieutenant? Kira nodded, even though she knew Gloop couldn't see her. Yeah, this is how we see it. A vast, unknown frontier, full of wonders and dangers, just waiting to be explored. But why, Xylorp asked, its voice uncharacteristically subdued. Why risk so much? Your species could have remained safely on your homeworld. Kira thought for a moment before answering. I guess. Because we believe that the reward outweighs the risk. Every time we push our boundaries, we learn something new about the universe and about ourselves. And that knowledge, that growth, it's worth every danger we face. As they orbited Mars, watching the red planet spin lazily beneath them, a comfortable silence fell over the shuttle. The aliens seemed lost in thought, processing this new perspective on both the cosmos and their human hosts. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the shuttle, shattering the contemplative mood. Red lights flashed ominously as Kira's hands flew over the control panel. What's happening? Zix-9 chimed anxiously, its crystalline form vibrating with fear. Kira's face was a mask of concentration as she responded, looks like we've got a problem with our radiation shielding. A solar flare just hit us harder than expected. AAS solar flare, Xylorp stammered, its tentacles writhing in panic. But that's incredibly dangerous, Kira finished for him, a grim smile on her face. Yeah, welcome to space travel, folks. It's not all pretty views and philosophical musings. Gloop's gelatinous form rippled with concern. What do we do? Should we abandon ship? Call for help? Kira shook her head, her fingers dancing over the controls. Negative on both counts. We don't have time for a rescue, and our escape pods aren't rated for this level of radiation. Our best bet is to repair the shielding and ride it out. The aliens exchanged horrified glances. Repair it, Zix-9 tinkled incredulously. Out there, in the vacuum of space. That's right, Kira confirmed, already moving towards the airlock. I'm going to have to go out and manually reset the shielding array. You three stay here and monitor the radiation levels. If they spike too high, you'll need to initiate emergency protocols. The computer will guide you through it. Before the aliens could protest, Kira had sealed her helmet and was cycling through the airlock. As the outer door opened, she pushed off, floating out into the star-speckled void. Inside the shuttle, the aliens watched in a mixture of awe and terror as Kira maneuvered expertly using her suit's thrusters. Her voice crackled over the comm system. All right, I'm at the array. Starting the reset procedure now. This is madness, Elorp muttered, its eyes fixed on Kira's distant form. Absolutely insane. Gloop burbled in agreement. And yet, isn't this exactly what she was talking about? Facing danger head-on, pushing boundaries, Zix-9 chimed thoughtfully. It's one thing to speak of such bravery, but to witness it. I'm beginning to understand why humans have achieved so much in such a short time. Outside, Kira worked feverishly, her gloved hands moving with practiced precision despite the bulky spacesuit. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she raced against time, acutely aware of the deadly radiation bathing the shuttle. Come on, you stubborn piece of, Kira muttered, wrestling with a particularly recalcitrant panel. With a final grunt of effort, the panel clicked into place. Immediately, a soft hum vibrated through her suit as the shielding array powered back up. Yes, Kira whooped, pumping her fist in the zero-gravity environment. Shields back online, folks. How we looking in there? Inside the shuttle, the aliens crowded around the control panel, their earlier fear replaced by excitement. Radiation levels are dropping rapidly, Zix-9 reported, its crystalline body shimmering with relief. You did it, Lieutenant. As Kira made her way back to the airlock, Xylorp's voice came over the comm, uncharacteristically subdued. Lieutenant. Kira, what you just did, it was incredibly brave. Kira chuckled as she cycled through the airlock. Nah, just another day at the office for us Deathworlders. Now, who's up for some celebratory space ice cream? As Kira rejoined them in the shuttle's main cabin, she was surprised to find herself enveloped in a many-limbed embrace from Xylorp. Thank you, the alien said simply. Kira patted one of Xylorp's tentacles awkwardly. Hey, no problem. That's what we humans do. We look out for each other, and for our friends. The word friends hung in the air, a bridge across the vast gulf of interstellar differences. In that moment, something shifted. The aliens were no longer merely observing humanity's resilience, they were experiencing it firsthand, becoming part of the story. As they made their way back to Mars, the conversation flowed more freely than ever before. The aliens peppered Kira with questions, not just about human physiology and technology, but about human culture, dreams, and aspirations. So, Lieutenant Gloop burbled, its gelatinous form still quivering slightly from the excitement after everything we've seen and experienced. What would you say is humanity's greatest strength? Kira leaned back in her seat, considering the question. You know, I think our greatest strength is also what others might consider our greatest weakness, our adaptability. Zix9 chimed curiously. Adaptability? How so? Well, Kira explained, humans have this incredible ability to adjust to almost any situation. We've lived in every environment our planet could throw at us: deserts, tundras, mountains, even underwater in submarines. And now we're adapting to life on other planets and in space. Xylorp's tentacles waved thoughtfully. But surely other species can adapt as well. Kira nodded. Sure. But here's the kicker: we don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to thrive. We see a harsh environment and think, how can we not just live here, but build a civilization here? That's why we're on Mars, why we're pushing further into space. It's not just about survival. It's about creating something new, something better. The aliens fell silent, pondering Kira's words. As the red surface of Mars grew larger in their viewport, Gloop spoke up again. You know, when we first arrived, I thought humans were, well, a bit crazy, the gelatinous alien admitted. Kira laughed. Oh, we definitely are. But Gloop continued, I'm starting to think that maybe the galaxy needs a little of that human brand of crazy. Your willingness to face challenges, to adapt and overcome. It's inspiring. As they prepared for re-entry, Kira couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. These aliens had come to study humanity, to understand the strange Deathworlders who had burst onto the galactic scene. But in the process, they'd become part of the human story, facing dangers, overcoming challenges, and forming bonds of friendship across the stars. The shuttle shuddered as it hit Mars' thin atmosphere, and Kira grinned at her alien companions. All right, folks, hold onto your tentacles, crystals, and pseudopods. We're going home. As they descended towards the red plains of Mars, Kira realized that home had taken on a new meaning. It wasn't just Earth or Mars, or any specific planet. For humanity, home was wherever they chose to make it, be it in the harshest deserts, the deepest oceans, or the farthest reaches of space. And now, thanks to this unlikely adventure, they had new friends to share it with. The universe, vast and mysterious as it was, suddenly felt a little smaller, a little friendlier. And isn't that, Kira mused, the greatest strength of all? Epilogue. Months later, in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation, Xylorp stood before the gathered representatives of 1,000 worlds. Its tentacles moved in graceful patterns as it addressed the assembly. Esteemed colleagues, Xylorp began, its voice resonating through the hall, I stand before you today to present the findings of our diplomatic mission to Mars. I must confess, what we discovered there has profoundly changed our understanding of our galactic neighbors, the humans. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Xylorp continued, we went to study these Deathworlders, expecting to find a species hardened by their harsh world, perhaps even brutish or simplistic. What we found instead was a race of innovators, explorers, and dreamers. Zix9 chimed in, its crystalline form glittering under the assembly hall lights. The humans don't just survive their challenging environments, they thrive in them. They see obstacles not as barriers, but as opportunities for growth and innovation. Gloop burbled in agreement. Their adaptability is unparalleled. Where we see danger, they see potential. Where we see limitations, they see possibilities. Xylorp's tentacles waved emphatically. Colleagues, I propose that we reconsider humanity's position in our galactic community. Their unique perspective, their resilience, and their unshakable optimism in the face of adversity. These are qualities that could benefit us all. As the assembly erupted into discussion, a familiar figure watched from the sidelines. Lieutenant Kira Novak, now serving as Earth's official liaison to the Galactic Confederation, couldn't help but smile. She thought back to that first meeting on Mars, the mountain climb, the night at the bar, the harrowing space adventure. Who could have predicted that those experiences would lead to this moment? As the assembly voted overwhelmingly to elevate humanity's status in the Galactic Confederation, Kira felt a surge of pride. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge, yet proving itself on a galactic stage, and had emerged victorious. But more than that, they had made friends, built bridges across the stars. As Xylorp, Zix9, and Gloop made their way towards her after the assembly, Kira realized that this was just the beginning. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity, with its unyielding spirit and newfound allies, was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. After all, that's what Deathworlders do best.